Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Wrestling vs. the World podcast. If you're enjoying your day, sweet. If not, what the hell ever. So today, I was going through a long list here, and I'm going to cover my suggestion of 50 WWE matches that you don't need to bother watching. These are essentially the worst of the worst. Most of these are going to be pay-per-views, because I feel like pay-per-view matches are easier to remember in terms of quality being bad compared to some random show like in December 2017 on a house show or whatever. But there are some rules I'm going to have here in terms of what will not be counted. No squash matches. No eye candy-esque matches. So no, we're not going to have any bra and panties matches, bikini matches. I'm not going to include tuxedo matches, shit like that. And they must be actual wrestling matches. So like, for example, the sumo match between Big Show and Nakabono from WrestleMania 21, not going to count. No boxing matches. I excluded the cat fight from WrestleMania 16. But these are the other 50 matches that I say, at no point do you ever need to see. So the first one on the list, holy crap. I saw this once and I absolutely hated it. Roddy Piper, Jerry Lawler, King of the Ring 94. Lawler being the dastardly heel, and this is what I feel sorry about involving the King. He's barely had any watchable matches or memorable matches, period, in his WWE career. But this match with Piper, it was like there was some segment where he's making fun of a guy that Piper is cool with, and now we're going to have a match at the pay-per-view. And this was during what was billed as the New Generation era, but the main event is between two guys who are of the previous generation. And it main events a show in a match that was atrocious. Because, we know their finishers. Piper does a sleeper hold. Lawler does a fist drop off the top or middle rope, or even doing a pile driver. But yet, you get a bridging back suplex with Piper, who's also rolling around trying to make sure this hold is down. It was just horrible. My gosh. You don't need to see this. Number 2, a match that wasn't supposed to have happened at In Your House 4. Yokozuna versus King Mabel. Supposed to be Undertaker against Mabel, but Yokozuna filled in because Undertaker was dealing with a broken orbital bone. So you had an impromptu-ish heel versus heel match. I say impromptu-ish because they announced it, but they had to rush it together. Heel versus heel, sloppy match. Offense was atrocious. It just felt like these guys were struggling to walk a few feet without going like, like it was a life or death situation. Double count out. Just this match was horrible. Holy crap. I know Yokozuna was not in the best shape at this point compared to a couple of years prior, and he's probably in the better shape of his career, and it'll get worse. But yeah, you would think a big man versus big man match would have some intrigue to it, but no, it blew chunks. Number 3, an infamous one. The match that saw both men phoning it in. Goldberg and Brock from WrestleMania 20. Both men were on the way out the door. The fans knew. Boo! They more cheer for Stone Cold Steve Austin's referee, and both Goldberg and Brock are like, hey, screw these fans. They're going to boo us. We'll give them a shit match. So they didn't even bother trying. Taking forever, lock up, stalemate, keep walking around, all that shit. I mean, eventually Goldberg won, but both men got stunned out of the ring, so yeah, it's a good thing they had their redemption match at WrestleMania 33, but this was horrible. And I should have also mentioned this. There's matches in here where they have some matches are bad, like a rematch and a regular match. I'm going to choose whatever the worst match is here, with some entries in here. Number 4, oh boy. No Mercy 99. Ivory versus Fabulous Moola. Fabulous Moola was in her 200s by this point. And she was accompanied by Mae Young. Because, this had been going on ever since, a backstage brawl that happened in Unforgiven after Ivory retained the title against Tori, I think. No, it was either Tori or Luna or whoever she was facing. And then it led to a brawl, and Ivory's like, yeah, I'm still the champion. What do you think about you old bitches? And fight broke out. You have this match. It lasted a few minutes. Moola, she was moving at a snail's pace. At this point, I think that old granny that was trying to eat Gary the Snail from SpongeBob with the cookies, trying to stuff him up, she goes at a faster pace than Moola. The action was horrible. May took the bigger bumps despite not being a legal participant in the match, and Moola still beat Ivory despite doing absolutely nothing. Why? Number 5, speaking of 99, the women's tag match from Survivor Series 99. Oh my gosh. It was like a 4-on-4 tag match One fall to the finish, so screw the Survivor Series stipulation, where it's elimination and all that shit. You just had sloppy action overall. You had women in there that weren't properly trained, like Terry Runnels put in there. Timing was off with everything. It was so terrible. I don't know who booked this or why, but there was no appeal to this. Number 6. Oh, God, this one. This is the match where, when it finished off, I sat back and said to myself, what the fuck did I just watch? Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe from King of the Ring 2000, the Hardcore Evening Gown match. I don't know why Vince booked this. I don't know if he thought that was funny, because we know Vince likes to book stuff that makes him laugh and everything. But the thing is, Vince, just because you find humor in it doesn't mean everybody else does, especially when it's something like this. Because like Hardcore Championship match, both men are dressed in evening gowns, wigs and makeup and everything. They're doing sexual innuendos and all that stuff, and it was the worst thing. Like, my gosh. And then thankfully the 24/7 rule kicked in. Crash got the pin, stopped the match. Shenanigans go on. Thank you, Crash, for making this shit show end. Number 7, possibly one of the worst WrestleMania matches, if not the worst one in history. Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, WrestleMania 27. Like, Cole had been a heel since the fall. Lawler's getting tired of it. Personal exchanges going on. I think they involve Grandmaster Sexay in one of the builds. Jack Swagger's in Michael Cole's corner. You had Stone Cold as referee. The action was atrocious. Took way too friggin' long. Stone Cold got involved with the physicality. I mean, I guess I don't know if they still had the rules saying you had to be physically provoked or whatnot for everything to fly, but Stone Cold got involved. Eventually, Cole tapped out of the ankle lock as Lawler put him in, but then the anonymous Raw GM, that whole stupid storyline is like, oh no, Stone Cold, you got involved, so therefore, I'm reversing the decision. Michael Cole, who's missing at least a tooth again, is the winner via like a reverse decision. Absolutely horrible, and it did not end after this. Less said the better. Number 8, I dreaded having to watch this match because name recognition, it seemed promising. But then the bell rang. Goldberg and Undertaker Super Showdown 2019. Because these Saudi Arabia shows have to have some big attraction match, even if you have men that are not in their prime anymore. Because like with Goldberg, at least with him, he can keep doing short matches and everything to hide his shortcomings, but Undertaker, he was getting up there. Because like ever since 2017 and stuff like that, it hasn't been the best. I know there were some iffy things like with his Hell in a Cell match in 2016, but 2017 onward was not a good period. And then this match, it's like, yeah, the name recognition is intriguing because we never saw it before, but then Goldberg concussions and blood and falling over, botched mania going wild, brother. Terrible choke slam. Goldberg looked like he got spiked with a tombstone, and that's all. God, and Undertaker could not hide his disappointment. Number 9, one of the worst tag matches ever. Brothers of Destruction versus Chronic, Unforgiven 2001. Steven Richards was not happy that The Undertaker caused a dissension of right to censor, so I'm gonna make sure that you guys face my tag team, and I'm gonna end The Undertaker. Here's Chronic. And, this match was a shit show. Selling was terrible from Chronic. Moves were constantly botched left and right. At one point, The Undertaker took like this jawbreaker. You hear him audibly scream, "Fuck!" as he got in his hands and knees trying to sell the move. He couldn't hide his frustration. It was, this match was just sloppy, terrible selling. Like, what was the explanation for Chronic, like, performing so terribly? Did anybody find out? I don't think so. Number 10. One of the only, if not possibly the only non-pay-per-view match that I got on the list. That Jackie Gata match. Jackie Gata and Christopher Nowinski versus Trish Stratus and Bradshaw in this impromptu mixed tag match, July 8, 2002. I think this might have been Jackie's first televised match after she was a co-winner of Tough Enough with, I think it was Linda Miles, who later became Shaniqua with the Basham Brothers. Just horrible. Like, the women were the main participants of the match. The men, I think the men only got involved fighting everything when they got out of the ring, but Jackie's selling was the worst. Like, they did not train her properly, just struggling to fall and land properly, both women tripping over each other, the botched landing of trying to sell the flying bulldog off the second rope by Trish. Thank God that one was over. Number 11, WrestleMania 15. Oh boy, this one, the Undertaker Big Boss Man match. This is not going to be the only WrestleMania 15 match you see on this list, because Undertaker wanted control of the WWF with his Ministry of Darkness, and Vince was like, "No, damn it, you're not going to get it." So they just decided, oh, Undertaker, you're going to face Big Boss Man inside Hell in a Cell just because. During Heat, Boss Man got a bloodbath. So he's bloody having to have this Hell in a Cell match which had no heat to it because it was heel versus heel. The belt was just built random because it wasn't like The Undertaker was specifically targeting the Big Boss Man to build up his match. It was just, damn Paul, face my SWAT team man. And the match was just completely lifeless. Undertaker wins. He hangs Big Boss Man after the match. My God. I would rather have had that noose wrapped around my head. Number 12. One of the most infamous matches. I had to put this in here because the execution of this whole thing was horrible. The Fiend, Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell 2019. Because the Fiend the character had been around on screen for a few months now. He was suddenly hot-shotted to the Universal title match against Seth Rollins, who had won the title back from Brock back at SummerSlam. He wasn't in the best graces of the fans for various possible reasons. So you have Hell in a Cell. This one had the red light throughout the whole match, like we had seen for the Kane matches in '97. You couldn't see shit. They tried to give this almost like a movie feel to where it's just like Seth trying to run away from this unkillable demon villain character. And you just ruined his finisher of the stomp. He delivered more than a dozen times in this match, but yet the Fiend kept kicking out at 1 for all except like the last one where he kicked out at 2. And then the match has a non-conclusive finish because the Fiend's covered in weapons, sledgehammer shot onto the pile, onto the Fiend who's burying that stuff, and the referee's like, that's it, no more, ding, 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 ding. It's like, really? You're going to call for the belt because that was too much, but yet Mankind, aka Mick Foley, could continue Hell in a Cell despite being thrown off the cell and chokeslammed through the roof in '98? If you can continue the match through that, I'm sure the Fiend can survive this and still keep going. Okay, the fans hated it. You couldn't see shit. Oh, this was a mess. Number 13. WrestleMania 9. Undertaker, Giant Gonzalez. I had to choose which was the worst one of the two to put on this list between this and SummerSlam. I had to put WrestleMania because it was just strike after strike after strike. Gonzalez looked ridiculous with the airbrushed outfit. The only redeeming thing about this whole encounter was Undertaker's entrance with that crow-like vulture that he had in his podium thing, or ride that he had to the ring. But this match was just strike after strike after strike, both men struggling to take each other down. It felt slow, and for some reason, a Giant had to get himself disqualified against The Undertaker by taking an ether-soaked rag and suffocating him with it until he called for the disqualification. Like, that's not how you make a Giant look strong if he has to do something like that to The Undertaker, okay? No thank you. Number 14, one of the most infamous matches. Triple H, Scott Steiner, Royal Rumble 2003. Steiner's back in the company after being away since 93-94. He comes back at Survivor Series, joins Raw, and he says in storyline because he signed with Raw, he's guaranteed a title shot against Triple H for the Royal Rumble. And they do those. I hated this build because it's just like, you're trying to build a main event storyline here for the Royal Rumble, for the world title, and what they do in the feud is that, let's keep having these competitions, see who's got the better physique. It's like, I don't care about that. What does it have to do with going after the World Heavyweight Championship? Find some way to make it a personal feud to at least get people intrigued. I don't care who's got the bigger muscles and who can flex better and everything like that. Like, we saw that with Warrior and Rick Rude back in '89, I think. It was either '88 or '89. And that was for the mid-card Intercontinental Championship. This did not care. Steiner just kept doing belly-to-belly suplexes over and over and over. He's struggling with drop foot, so he tried to do that double underhook drop or powerbomb, whatever, and he fell over. He's tired after the second or third belly-belly suplex and ends in disqualification when the sledgehammer gets involved. So a flat finish, terrible match. No thank you. Number 15. SummerSlam 2003, later on that year. Eric Bischoff, Shane McMahon. All because Eric Bischoff lip-locked Linda McMahon. I think this was after she got tombstoned by Kane after he unmasked and everything. So it's just like, hey, I made out with your mom, and she's a big-breasted woman. Shane didn't like that. We have the match at SummerSlam, which changed stipulation throughout the match. The action was horrible. Like, Shane, yeah, he wasn't the best in the ring, but at least he's more experienced compared to Bischoff in terms of doing stuff and making an intriguing match, but the action sucked. The only thing you remember is the elbow to Eric Bischoff through the announce table. Coachman turned heel using the steel chair, which was pointless, and Stone Cold had to get involved, but the match still sucked, even with the finish. It's just like, elbow, pin, because it would suddenly change the false count anywhere. No thank you. Speaking of Eric Bischoff, number 16, Teddy Long, Eric Bischoff, Survivor Series 2005. Why? Two men who are the general managers, because again, this whole brand warfare thing just has to happen because it suddenly matters. Like, I know people don't like bragging rights very much, but at least with the bragging rights pay-per-view, there's something on the line. You get a trophy. What did you get at Survivor Series with these brand, like, Raw versus SmackDown things? Nothing. And you had the GMs going at it. The action sucked. If memory serves me right, I think the Boogeyman got involved in the finish to cost Eric Bischoff the match. So Teddy Long wins in a match between two guys who are not experienced in the ring. Terrible match. No thank you. Number 17. I've got to say this. One of the men is not very known for having, like, god-awful matches in WWE. But then the other is John Laurinaitis. It's John Cena versus John Laurinaitis over Limit 2012. The whole thing was Laurinaitis had been controlling Raw ever since after, like, around the time of the brand split ending. He became general manager of Raw and SmackDown at WrestleMania 28. He's abusing his power. So it's, Cena, and over the limit, you're gonna face me! And Cena was doing the whole, you're a loser shit. So it's decided it was Cena, Laurinaitis, no holds barred match-ish type stipulation, but the rule is if Laurinaitis loses, he gets fired. The whole time it was just basically a comedy extended match-ish type thing. Because Cena was just fucking with Laurinaitis, dumping trash on him. Oh, let's do commentary. Oh, I'm going to put you on the STF. Oh, don't tap out. You lose your job. Yeah, you survived 10 seconds. That's 5 seconds longer than you last in bed. Or in any other office or possible office locations. But this match was just atrocious. And they had the whole rule saying, if anybody gets involved, they're fired. Before this, Big Show was fired. He comes out to stop Laurinaitis from running away through the crowd. And John Laurinaitis, like, gets thrown into the ring. Time for an FU, but then Big Show turned heel for the 9,000th time. Knocks out Cena. Laurinaitis wins. So this match was just atrocious. And then they screw it up the next night, because then John Laurinaitis tried to say, oh, before the pay-per-view, I rehired the Big Show. It's just like that goes against the rule because it says anybody who gets involved is fired. And yet you said you signed him before the match. So you win against your own stipulation. So you really screwed that up, Johnny ass. Number 18, I covered 18 and 19. I covered this in a certain pay-per-view review. But 18, Bret Hart, Bob Backlund, WrestleMania 11. They had an awesome match in Survivor Series, throwing the towel submission match for the title. Like, Backlund trying to regain the title he technically never lost when he lost it to the Iron Sheik back in the day. So the Bob Backlund match is feud is still ongoing. Sharpshooter versus the Crossface Chicken Wing. You got Piper as the referee. It's just a constant case of, oh, let's keep trading submission holds over and over because that's going to be compelling. And Piper being obnoxious saying, what do you say? And just, like, making a complete joke of this. Just absolutely obnoxious. Backlund gets put in his own submission hold. Yes! Like, he didn't say I quit, he's choking. You interpret it saying that he said I quit. That's not how it goes. The match sucked, okay? You compare this to Survivor Series. Survivor Series, ice cream. This one, horseshit. 19. Speaking of WrestleMania 11, the opening match of the show. The Blue Brothers versus the Allied Powers. Yeah, you got two guys who was part of the NWO 2000, a.k.a. the Harris Brothers, versus the British Bulldog and Lex Luger. Luger, he had fallen off since the whole failed Lex Express type freaking push that was going on. So it's like, hey, let's have a man from the United Kingdom and an American go against two guys who we can't tell them apart. Like, I think one of them I call Blue Cheese and the other Blue something else. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched that review, but this match did not belong on the show. The action was absolutely sloppy. No story. It was one of the worst things ever. This should have been like on a freaking episode of Superstars, a wrestling challenge. Now WrestleMania. Number 20. Yeah, speaking of In Your House 4, I watched this match and I was bored to tears. Diesel versus the British Bulldog in the main event. They were out of heels to really give to Diesel to go and feuds against because he went against Shawn Michaels, back-to-back ones against Sid. You have the tag match of King of the Ring and like pinning Tatanka and all that shit. So now the British Bulldog, he turned heel, attacking, I think he turned on Diesel, joined with Cornette, he changed his hairstyle, and it's like, hey, In Your House 4, you're going to go against Diesel. This match went way too long, the action sucked, was going at a snail's pace, and then it ended via disqualification. Then, allegedly, after the show went off the air, Vince throws his head down saying, "Terrible! Terrible! That was not such good shit! What did I just watch?" Like, Vince, you've got what you pay for and what you put on television. You gave people shit, it's gonna be shit. And shortly thereafter, Diesel loses the title. 21! Another one in infamy from the Attitude Era. Al Snow versus the Big Boss Man. Cal from Hell Unforgiven 99. So this whole thing started with the hardcore title. Then Al Snow befriends a dog named Pepper. Big Boss Man kidnaps the dog, kills it, feeds it to Al Snow in the hotel, trying to seem like he's making peace. Then Al Snow just decides, hey, let's have this custom match. You and I have a match where we're inside the steel cage, the blue bar one, surrounded by Hell in a Cell, and surrounding the cage are a bunch of pit bulls, or Rottweilers, or whatever kind of dogs they are. So the whole rule is you gotta escape both the steel cage and Hell in a Cell completely to win. The action sucked. The build was questionable. The dogs weren't behaving the way they were supposed to try to act as a danger. So it was just a complete, utter mess. Dogs pissing and shitting everywhere. You have commentary wondering, oh, they're mating. We could have more dogs in here. It's like, I don't think dogs form babies that fast. Okay, the gestation period of a dog is not instantaneous. Being like, oh, they fuck. Oh, now little puppies. Oh, they can get in on the action too. Dogs don't work like that, okay? Yeah, this match is, my God. It seemed intriguing on paper having, the structures there, but the execution was just completely flawed. 22, speaking of WrestleMania 15, Sable and Tori for the Women's Championship. Tori, she was far more experienced in the ring. Sable, barely trained in any degree whatsoever. This woman, it was just one of the worst female in-ring talents, quote-unquote, ever. And this match is just completely sloppy. Sable was during her heel turn because, everybody wants me. No, not really, Sable. If I wanted something that was completely made of plastic, I'd go buy a Barbie doll at the local toy store down at the mall. But the action was just horrible. Everything just sloppy. These two did not click. Sable retained, and thankfully, not too long afterwards, she left the company. Good riddance. 23, Judgment Day 2003. Oh, no. We've seen these two at Halloween Havoc 97, where Jim Cornette, I remember he made his rant talking about these two doing the whole quote-unquote age in the cage thing. But Judgment Day 2003, Roddy Piper versus Mr. America. These two men were past their prime. The action, was 5-ish minutes or more? And the whole thing was just, hey, we want to unmask Mr. America to prove that he's Hogan because Vince wants it so badly so we can fire Hogan because then you're going against the rules saying that you're fired. But the action was just slow, god-awful. One thing when these two were going at it 15 years prior, 15 to 20 years-ish, when they're back in the golden era of WWE. But here in 2003, it did not work at all. Just, my God. Once the 90s hit and these two kept going and going, it just kept getting worse and worse. No, thank you. 24. A match that really did not feel like it belonged. Backlash 2002, Bradshaw and Scott Hall. I mean, when you see two guys that were solid, brawling type characters or whatever, Scott Hall's in-ring style, you could just really describe it as, you would think it would be intriguing, because you got JBL and the future JBL and Razor Ramon. But Hall, this 2002 run was not good. The action was just sluggish and slow. Just, these two did not gel well. Just, no thank you. Did not click, period. 25! Oh boy, yeah. The Great American Match 2004. Dudley Boyz versus The Undertaker. The Concrete Crypt match. Undertaker, he had returned as the dead man at WrestleMania 20, brought back Paul Bearer as his manager, so it's hey, we're going back in time here, folks. These two hadn't been really seen with each other since, 99? Around the Ministry of Darkness era? So, all of a sudden, Paul Heyman, who, I think this was after he stopped being the GM of SmackDown and Kurt Angle was running the show at this point, he decides, hey, I'm going to kidnap Paul Bearer, get The Undertaker to do my bidding, and I've got the urn, but now if you want Paul Bearer back, you have to have this handicap match, which was originally called Do or Die, and then they changed to Concrete Crypt, so it's a handicap match of the Great American Bash where The Undertaker, he's being blackmailed, or pretty much, blackmailed-ish in a way, saying, hey, you have to do what I say, because if you don't let the Dudley Boys beat you, we're going to take Paul Bearer, who's in this glass crypt, and completely kill him in concrete. So you kept stopping the action. Paul Heyman just screaming, "Bad dog! Bad dog!" Like, to try to cause The Undertaker to lose, be like, "Hey, don't forget, your manager over here might die if you don't be careful." But it's like, Undertaker still won. The action sucked. The constant pauses was a big distraction to take you out of the match. Then Paul Heyman, he tried to be like, "Oh, I warned you." Then The Undertaker struck the I think he struck the lightning to the cement truck or whatever. Scared Paul Heyman off. Then Bear, he's up to like his waist or even towards his neck with concrete, and then still Undertaker pulls the lever, being like, "Rest in peace, Paul." Like, what was the point? You got your manager out there. Why would you kill him off? Like, we wouldn't see him again for like, I think another 6 years after this. It's just like, what was the point? Now 26. SummerSlam 07. Oh, plotting. You're not going to... One of these men you're going to see on this list again in a bit. The Great Khali, Batista. Oh, boy. Batista, he had been gunning for the World Heavyweight Championship again after the whole feud with The Undertaker, still going after Edge. Edge had vacated the title due to injury. Khali won a Battle Royal to become new champion. So Batista, he's chasing after the title. You get these two one-on-one. This match is slow, takes forever, rest holds, basic strikes. Like, the Great Khali, he barely has any good chemistry with anybody. Like, I know people would get on Cena's case for, like, not being saying he wasn't the best in-ring guy, but to me, he gave Great Khali his best ever singles match at One Night Stand in 2007. Okay? Like, it's not easy to have, like, a good match with somebody like Khali because of his physical limitations. But then Batista tried to in a standard match, and this match blew chunks. Slow, boring, and had a disqualification finish. Because, once again, a giant who should be a physical, imposing threat, and should be somebody that you do not want to mess with and can beat anybody, had to get himself disqualified because he used a steel chair. So then this had to continue afterwards. 27. Hey. The Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal, WrestleMania 25. Why did this match happen? Like, the women did not get their own entrances, everybody coming out during a Kid Rock concert. You did not know who was there unless you really looked closely into the ring with a pair of binoculars to try to identify people. So it's just like, hey, the winner is Miss WrestleMania for the Battle Royal. Just random women thrown in there, getting thrown out, people couldn't keep up. And at the end, it was won by Santino, pretending to be his own twin sister, Santina. It's just like, it's an interesting concept to try to do something nice for the women, but then you have a finish like that, where you just threw the significance away to make it a joke. Just dumb. 28. In Your House, Revenge of the Taker. The pay-per-view after WrestleMania 13. The Road Dogg, Jesse James, or it said in his match graphic, Jesse Jamis, with 2 M's. He's facing the protege of the Honky Tonk Man. Now, it was rumored that it was going to be against, I think it was Disco Inferno, but Disco stayed with WCW, so it was like, hey, we still got to get a payoff for the storyline. So it's going to be the musical protege? Rockabilly, a.k.a. Billy Gunn, who's no longer part of the Smoking Guns. Like, I've already talked about this with his characters. So this whole match was just dog shit. They spent way too much time showboating, barely any notable action. I think the best moment was like Road Dogg or Jesse James ran off the apron with a flying clothesline to Gunn, who was around at ringside. But this match was just absolutely atrocious. Thank goodness the Rockabilly thing did not last long. But just no thank you. 29. It's a shame to see where these two were earlier in the year in terms of the quality of their matches. Kane versus Undertaker, Judgment Day in Your House. We know the whole build. Family Fire, Kane coming back for revenge, and then afterwards, after the matches of WrestleMania 14 and the Inferno match, turns out they're in cahoots. So then you get to breakdown, triple threat, Undertaker, Kane, Stone Cold, title on the line. Kane could not pin The Undertaker, and vice versa, because of orders by Vince McMahon, so they both pinned Stone Cold at the same time after a double chokeslam, so title's vacant. Now you get to Judgment Day, both men one-on-one, Stone Cold's referee, to determine the WWF champion, but if Stone Cold does not declare a winner, he's fired. This match went way too long, boring as hell, a lot of rest holds, absolutely pointless. They didn't even have a physical belt to bring to the pay-per-view. Like, I know they were still working on the updated version, like, for the big Eagle belt that we would see at Survivor Series, But like, you could have brought a physical belt to tease people at least to think that could be a new champion, because right after Breakdown, you had that whole possible the crowning ceremony right after Breakdown where Stone Cold brought the Zamboni, and you had the Winged Eagle belt in a glass case. You could have done that, but no, not going to do that. So it's like, there wasn't even a belt there, and there was seemed to be more focus on, will Stone Cold crown somebody's champion, or is he going to be fired, rather than determining who's going to be champion. Stone Cold, he took both men were out. Undertaker turned heel by realigning with Paul Bearer, who turned on Kane. Stone Cold counted both men down after giving a chair shot and stunner to The Undertaker. Oh, there's no winner. The winner is Stone Cold. Stone Cold's fired for a little bit, so that was a complete waste. And like I said, the match completely blew. 30. Comedy done wrong. Team Bigelow versus the Four Doinks, which were Men on a Mission and the Bushwhackers in a tag, like dressing up like the Doinks in Survivor Series 93. Bigelow, he was having enough of Doink the Clown, and this would not end until around WrestleMania time in 94. But this was just like the stupid comedy stuff. I think there were like banana peels and a scooter. Just too many shenanigan antics type shit. Just comedy done wrong, folks. Once they turned Doink babyface and tried that stuff, it did not work. So just terrible. And speaking of the clowns, number 31, Survivor Series 94. Clowns Are Us, Doink and his little friends versus Jerry Lawler and his royal family. More comedy done wrong. Just like little people just running around being like, oh, ha ha ha, it's funny. You got little people going around and running on each other and like trying to pin each other and everything. Oh, it's supposed to be a contest. It was just another stupid moment. Like, I don't know why they did this to Lawler. And they even put the Burger King crown on him. I know, like, if there was going to be a point where you do that, you do that in a match with Brett, because he was the one that started the whole Burger King chants back in 93 on Lawler. So this is another thing where just comedy done wrong. And why do it at Survivor Series, though, too? Do it, like, on a Raw, not one of your big four pay-per-views. 32, speaking of Brett. His match with Vince at WrestleMania 26. Brett had been back for a few months. First time being in the WWE ring since Survivor Series 97. We know how that all went down. But this was Brett post-stroke, and it was finally announced he was going to have a match with Vince, to where Brett was finally going to look to get revenge on Vince because of Montreal. Now, of course, Brett couldn't really do much of anything. Couldn't bump. But the one defense I'll give to this match is that it did its job of Brett finally getting his revenge like he'd been waiting to do. But again, the action was horrible, because then it became a no-holds-barred lumberjack match to work around the fact that Brett can't get knocked down. But yeah, Brett won, he got his revenge, but yeah, the match was horrible. 33, an impromptu match here. Unforgiven 2004, Tyson Tomko versus this mysterious red-headed lady that was following him, who was actually Stevie Richards in drag. Because this was right after Trish had retained the title against Victoria. So then this woman comes to attack Tyson Tomko. He's like, hey, get back here and fight me. They have the match. It's revealed to be Stevie Richards, who's wearing women's clothing and some lingerie stuff. It was just a lot of rest holds, like bland brawling, because like Tomko was just constantly dominating with this bland offense on Stevie Richards. Richards could barely fight back in anything, and Tomko still won. The match was... What were they thinking with this? It was that bad. You don't need to see this. 34. I put this match on because I despise this so much, and I talked about this man a bit ago. Lex Luger, Yokozuna, SummerSlam 93. A month and a half after Luger suddenly became Made in the USA, Lex Luger, Luger Express, I Love America type guy, he gave the scoop slam, body slam to Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid, so he gets a title shot because he's no longer the narcissist. You're going to get a shot against Yokozuna at SummerSlam, but the rule is you have to win the match or else you don't get a rematch. The action was horrible. Luger didn't really click with that many people in his career in terms of opponents. Yokozuna didn't really do that well against certain opponents either. But the in-ring action sucked. The build was just bad. Luger, he lacked charisma. And the match ends via countout, which Luger celebrates with confetti and the United States flag and balloons and music like he won the damn title. Like, I can understand if you're giving that celebration with confetti and everything after slamming Yokozuna on USS Intrepid, But not when you win a title match via countout. Unless the pre-match stipulation says the title can change hands outside of pinfall or submission like that, there's no point in celebrating. And then things really went off the rails afterwards with Luger because his time at the company was never the same up until he left. So this was horrible. 35, I just rewatched this match recently to refresh my memory. Kane versus the Great Khali, SummerSlam 2009. So Kane, he had been around, like, keeping an eye on Khali, I think since around the Bash, somewhere in there. Because, like, he was then terrorizing Khali, trying to abduct Ron Johnson, who was his on-screen brother. And these two just did not click. Just terrible selling, terrible action, basic brawling. Think of Undertaker, Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania 9, but replace the two guys with, like, you got a different Giant replacing Giant Gonzalez, and somebody else who's known to be a demon replacing the Undertaker, with terrible action just 16 years later. And Kane somehow wins this with a running DDT. It's like, I guess you couldn't do a choke slam or something? Like, you did a scoop slam to Khali at WrestleMania 23 a couple years prior, but this match had, like, no heat. Nobody cared. So don't bother with this one. 36. I hate this pay-per-view so much, and one of the key matches proves it. December to Dismember 2006, the mixed tag match, Mike Knox and Kelly Kelly versus Kevin Thorne and Ariel. The only babyface of the match was Kelly Kelly, who was getting wet for CM Punk. Mike Knox did not appreciate it, that his girlfriend was getting wet for another man. And before the match, he's like, oh, good luck, CM Punk. I hope you win the Elimination Chamber match. Spoiler, he didn't. But this tag match was just horrible. Nobody remembers this. The crowd was dead. All you remember was Ariel constantly punishing Kelly Kelly, and Mike Knox abandoning Kelly, being like, no tag, bye-bye, and leaves. And eventually Ariel gets the pin on Kelly Kelly. I think she did like this STR or whatever she did, and still pinned her. There was nothing to this. No, thank you. Now, number 37. I also recently rewatched this match, and I see why people don't like it. Another match from Judgment Day 2003. Triple H, Kevin Nash for the World Heavyweight Championship. Nash had been back since after WrestleMania, back after his infamous quad tear in 2002. And because of bad blood with Triple H, he decided, hey, I'm a babyface now. Yeah, I sided with Shawn Michaels. So after Backlash, they decide, hey, Kevin Nash, you're going to get a shot at Triple H for the World Heavyweight title. Triple H, for some reason, had a shitload of flaming pyro during his entrance on Judgment Day, which the set still looked similar to WrestleMania 18, looking like it was still under construction. Brawling at the entranceway, so Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, who were supposed to accompany these men to the ringside, quickly bailed out of there. The action absolutely was boring, slow as hell. You remember, more, like, they spent more time abusing Earl Hebner, who was the referee, than actually trying to have a compelling match. And Triple H at the end, he was trying to get himself disqualified. Like, it felt a little similar to the whole thing with Steiner at Royal Rumble. But at the Royal Rumble, he used a sledgehammer on Steiner. And here, he used a sledgehammer on Earl Hebner to get disqualified. And then after the match, the only interesting part you saw was when Kevin Nash gave him a jackknife powerbomb through the Raw announce table towards its stage area. Yeah! I wonder why nobody liked this feud. They had a better match at Bad Blood, like inside Hell in a Cell, but not by much. But again, that was far better than this. 38. Oh, this boring tag match. Unforgiven 2003, Al Snow and Jonathan Coachman versus JR and Jerry Lawler. Why does Lawler keep having shit matches in the WWE? So, we remember, like I said, Coach turned heel at SummerSlam, he gets his ego, and at first, at Unforgiven, I mentioned this in the card subject to change 4-part series. It was supposed to be JR versus Coach, because Coach does not like JR, but then they changed it to a tag match, because Al Snow turned heel, so now we get this tag match where the winning team is going to be the commentary team on Raw. This was absolutely boring. Like, I know Coach was not trained well in the ring, but I was more impressed by his in-ring action and performance at Backlash the next year against Tajiri compared to this. Because this tag match, the action was horrible, slow as hell. You could hear some spots almost getting called and, like, encouragement because there was no commentary team to try to cover this up. Just, like, no notable moments in this match. In terms of action, the crowd was just bored until JR got involved, and then the match ended because Jericho got involved, dropkicked to JR in order to give Coachman and Al Snow the win. So, Coachman and Al Snow won the match to become the commentators on Raw, which they later on did. Because then after this, like, freaking King and JR got their spots back, so why? What was the point? 39, another one I had to rewatch. Kane versus Imposter Kane Vengeance 2006. This was after the whole May 19th thing went on, because Kane was hearing voices. May 19th, you know what happened that day. The day passed and Kane revealed, oh, that's the anniversary when my parents were killed in a fire, so there's continuity there. He's like, oh, but the day is gone. Ha ha ha. But then, you see this guy wearing the Kane outfit, who was Luke Gallows in this disguise, wearing a terrible wig in Kane's old outfit, terrorizing him. Kane was just saying, I know this guy. He's more twisted than me. Like, how is that possible when you look at where the Kane character was by that point? This guy was electrocuting freaking Shane McMahon's testicles at one point. So they had this one-on-one match. The match was just slow, plodding, boring as hell. The crowd did not give one iota of a shit. And this is the problem when you got two men whose in-ring repertoire, I guess you could give a description. I'm not going to say moveset, because that pisses CM Punk off there. When you have two guys who have the same moveset in a way... Look what I just did there. I don't give a shit now. When you got two guys who do the same moves over and over again like this, and are very similar, it's not going to click well. I mean, we saw that with the Usos going against each other at WrestleMania 40. And the Imposter Kane won against the original Kane. And I think it was like the next night they scrapped this, because then all of a sudden Kane's like, oh, I kicked the Imposter's ass. I took the mask back. Threw him out of the building. Let's never speak of it again. Thank you very much. 40. Hey, Cameron, this is your favorite match, huh? Melina versus Alicia Fox, SummerSlam 2010. Alicia Fox was the Divas Champion. Melina had just come back from injury. That outfit was not the best thing for Melina. But you have this match. These two did not click. Alicia Fox was not good in the ring. No offense to her, but it's just the flat-out truth. These two did not click at all. And Melina, at one point, like, she leaps back in the ring, like, backing up. She's like, oh, my left leg hurts. So what does Alicia Fox do? She targets the arm and shoulder of Melina afterwards. Like, what sense does that make? The logic in psychology and wrestling is, you see an injured body part in a moment there, you target it. If somebody has a bad leg, you target it for your own advantage. But Alicia did not do that. These two were... this match just did not work. Boring offense. It's just so... it did not click for these two. Cameron, why was this your favorite match again? I want to know. 41. Yeah, this tag match. I almost forgot about it at one point. No Way Out 2007. Finlay and the Little Bastard, not yet Hornswoggle just yet, versus the Boogeyman and Little Boogeyman. I don't remember why these two were having this feud for this team. There was nothing entertaining about this. The action was stupid and sucked. You can find more entertaining stuff for Hornswoggle when he was going against El Torito later on, compared to this. Pointless. 42. Survivor Series 08. Triple H versus Vladimir Kozlov versus Edge. It was supposed to have been Jeff Hardy, but they said Jeff Hardy was found unconscious. I think it was like the stairwell of his hotel, so he might not make it. And I know people were trying to say, oh, maybe they tried to say Jeff was on drugs again. I think that was more of a case of an attack, because if you see Jeff Hardy when he got involved in the match, you saw a big bandage of tapes on the back of his head and neck area. So that was symbolizing an attack there, folks. I think people kind of forget that. But then, like, it's just Triple H Kozlov for a while. They were just taking up time with these rest holds over and over again. And finally, Vicky's like, oh, he's here. He is here. And here comes Edge for the first time since he got chokeslammed to hell back at SummerSlam. And he wins the match to become new WWE Champion. But again, this match, even that finish, could not save this. Oh no, now 43 and 44 from the same show. But 43, Survivor Series 2013. Big Show Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. This was after the feud finally ended with Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. Fans were still hot for Daniel Bryan during all this. And Big Show used the whole thing where he got fired, he wants to sue the company, but now he's saying, oh, I want my job back, and I want to be the face of WWE. Smile. Then decides, hey, give me a title shot against Randy Orton Survivor Series. So the match happens. There were botched moments. I remember like they were trying to do that whole hangman DDT that Randy did, but Big Show's feet slipped off the apron or the rope, so Randy had to do a standard DDT in the ring. These two just never clicked. Fans did not give a damn about this. And then finally, Randy retains. Then here comes Cena, where you have a title unification match at TLC. So that was a waste of time. And then speaking of Survivor Series, the Divas tag match later on, or earlier in the show, sorry. The Total Divas versus the True Divas. It was just the women of Total Divas versus the women who can't stand the Total Divas in the reality show shit. This match, you had an elimination almost every minute after the first minute of the match. I think there were like 3 minutes in there from what I'm remembering where there weren't eliminations, but otherwise you just had back-to-back-to-back-to-back eliminations. This is a rush, this match, so horribly. Somebody gets a pin, then they take another finisher by the Newleo person. Pin, repeat. Like, what were they thinking? Like, my gosh. 45. I watched Brian Zane's review of this, and then I rewatched this match back just right before this, and I understand why it's bad. Rock Bottom in Your House, the Oddities, being Kurgan and Golga versus the Headbangers. This is after the ICP attacked the Oddities, aligned with the Headbangers and everything, so Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, they weren't even here at the pay-per-view, so you had this tag match that, they didn't even have a match graphic announcing this. This match did not click. Nobody gave a damn after the entrance with the Oddities, like waving their hands in the air and all that stuff. Fans did not give a shit. The action was just bad. There was a bit of almost a botched mistiming of sorts with the finish. The Headbangers won, and thank goodness this thing ended after this. This did not click at all. 46. I was holding off after all these years watching this, and I finally sat down and regret it. Crown Jewel 2018, DX Brothers of Destruction. The Super Showdown in Australia, Triple H Undertaker, one last time, damn it. These two went one-on-one, Triple H won, and then afterwards Undertaker attacked Triple H and Shawn Michaels with Kane there. So we set up this tag match to bring Shawn Michaels out of retirement. Saudi Arabia money there, folks. So Shawn's first match in 8 years, finally breaking his retirement. He wouldn't have come out of retirement for a match against AJ Styles, but he'll come out for this match. And this tag match was a disaster. Undertaker, he was easily tired early on and like with his actions. Triple H, with it, like the first 5 minutes seemed alright, but then Triple H got launched out of the ring doing that whole flippy move out of the corner to the outside, and he tore his pectoral muscle, so he was a one-armed man. And he was just struggling just using his left arm. Shawn, he had some botches like landing with the moonsault to the outside. Kane losing his mask. Triple H and Undertaker botching an Irish whip to the on the outside, trying to go into the barricade. Everything just went wrong here. I mean, DX won. Triple H even struggled to do he did a better pedigree to the Undertaker than he did to Kane at the end of the match. And it's just like, man. And it's like, and I feel sorry for Triple H, because that's the third time in 17 years where he suffers a serious injury in a tag match. We saw with the 2 tag matches with his Storm Quads, and now this tag match, he tears his pec. Ay, mi cabeza. 47. Speaking of Triple H, DX in your house. Triple H, still known as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, versus Sgt Slaughter in the boot camp match. DX, they were doing the whole shenanigans, making mockery out of Sgt Slaughter, being Sergeant Slobber, and being like, oh, stop spitting on me, we gotta wear these face shields and everything, because you're, like, being an authoritarian dictator over us, trying to say we can't be degenerates, and show respect, and telling you to suck it, and eating bananas and shit. So, Shawn Michaels, he's busy with Ken Shamrock. Triple H decides, hey, let's have a boot camp, we're gonna have a boot camp match at DX in your house against Sgt Slaughter. Match went too long. Match is essentially no holds barred in a way / a street fight with gear. The match was slow and sluggish. The action was horrible. Slaughter, I think he was trying to do like a backbreaker and fell over doing the move. It felt like when was it Nikita Koloff? I think, no, Nikolai Volkov, sorry. From when Nikolai Volkov did have the Heroes of Wrestling show doing it to the Bushwhackers, just like, fall over. These two just, Slaughter was out of his prime here. You can miss this. 48. A match that had terrible action, and some of the contents were really unneeded. Jake Roberts, Jerry Lawler, SummerSlam 96. Like, Roberts, he had been back throughout that year, trying to turn his life around, achieving sobriety, being born-again Christian. Lawler, he's being a dick, being like, oh man, you like alcohol, you're gonna drink again. So it's just like terrible jokes. You got the bottle of Jack Daniels trying to force it down like Jake Roberts' throat, who's trying to still recover from alcohol, which he wouldn't do until a long time later on. Just this match is just completely stupid. The action sucked. The build was terrible. Just that's something that really irritates me. It's like you take somebody's real life demons, like struggles, and bring them onto light like that. Like they did, like they brought light to it in WCW with Scott Hall, and then again later on in his WWE run in 2002. They did it with Road Warrior Hawk. You don't need to do that and like risk somebody relapsing because you're exposing them to stuff like that. Come on. 49. SummerSlam 95, that main event. Diesel, King Mabel. Mabel won King of the Ring. He needed a new heel to go against for Diesel. So you brought out one half of Men on a Mission. In this, the action was just atrocious as hell. Like at one point, Mabel almost could have paralyzed Diesel, like just dropping his legs down and sitting on Diesel's back, causing his legs to give out, and Mabel almost got fired after this. He would be still around for a bit longer, but after entering The Undertaker, that was it. He would be gone right out shortly thereafter once 96 began. But these two did not click. They were running out of people for Diesel to fight against, and again, we also mentioned that with the British Bulldog later on. But this was horrible, and Diesel had to jump off the second rope with a flying clothesline to beat Mabel, because he couldn't do a friggin' jackknife powerbomb. Viscera was too big. This, like, Viscera did not click with anybody. Again, rest in peace to Viscera, but it's the truth. He did not click with anybody. And number 50, I was trying to choose between WrestleMania 33 match and this. I chose this because of the absurdity. The Fiend versus Randy Orton, WrestleMania 37. Yeah, the WrestleMania 37 match sucked, because you remember for the projections on the screen, or the ring canvas and everything, but at least there was a nice build to this. And there was something on the line, the WWE Championship. 37, they're still, like, they're finally getting the payoff to Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt / The Fiend here, who's magically recovered from his burns at the TLC pay-per-view that he had in the Infernal match against Randy. So you're having this match, The Fiend versus Randy. The Fiend's no longer burned. The red lights everywhere. The action sucked. Too short of a match. And it ended after The Fiend was distracted by Alexa Bliss, who was popping out of the Jack-in-the-Box with ink oil all over her, like spatting all over her face. And then Randy, with one RKO, beat The Fiend. Because again, you can barely see the action in the ring, and it took one finisher, again, to beat The Fiend. It took, like, he could survive a shitload of curb stomps over almost a year and a half prior against Seth Rollins inside Hell in a Cell, but it takes one RKO to beat him at WrestleMania 37. What? And then after this, Bray Wyatt was gone for like the next year and a half, because like he would get released earlier after this, and then would come back, and unfortunately his return would be rather short-lived when he came back in the end of 2022. So, yeah. 50 entries in here. Holy crap. Like, I had to go back and watch some of these matches because my memory was going foggy, and then I remember, it's like, yeah, these matches were as bad as I remember. So, let me know in the comments section below, folks. Do you agree with this list, or are there any other matches you would also say are probably worthy of replacing other matches on this list overall? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's episode, folks, please remember, leave a like, subscribe with the bell turned on here on YouTube, and leave a comment below, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks for listening, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, and good day, everybody.